Lovely. Good morning, everybody. My name's Cathy Shimon. I'm the Senior Training Manager at Directory of Social Change. Nice to see so many of you landing. We're heading towards 100 already, and we have registered a good few hundred, up to 600 or 700. So we'll be a few minutes settling in. Please, as you're arriving, do use the chat. Very sociable places, Benefact group webinars. So do say hello, let us know where you're from, whereabouts in the country you are, whether it's rainier there than it is in Liverpool. You're going to take some rain. We've got about 2 minutes to go, a few hundred people to settle in. Thank you, somebody, for alerting me to the chat. Clearly, something is disabled there. Let me sort that out for you. Thank you very much, everybody. Police or Lucinda, could you just check that chat for me again? Chris has checked it. Chris, yours is good. Police, thank you very much. So yes, please, as you arrive, say hello. Let us know where you are in the country. We're always looking for the geographical spreads across the world. Coming in from Belfast. Hello, Claire. Here we're getting a cross section now. Nottingham and Liverpool. Hello from Liverpool. Guess where I am as well with this accent. Edinburgh and Norfolk. Lovely. Nice to see so many of you. We're up to a couple of hundred. We're just at 10:30. I'm going to give it 30 seconds as people are arriving. I'll hand over to Chris to take over here. And Chris will let you know about the practicalities and everything for the day as well. I'm going to do that now, Chris, and carry on saying hello to everybody in the chat while I go off screen and hand over to you. Have a fabulous webinar, everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Cathy. Beck, we could pop some slides on the screen. So welcome everyone to our final webinar in our 2022 series in partnership with Directory of Social Change. This is the finale, and I think we're going out with a bit of a bang. It's possibly our biggest audience yet. So thank you very, very much for taking the time to attend. We've got a lineup of experts for you, headlined by Nick Day. We'll all introduce ourselves as we go through. But first of all, I'm Chris Pitt. I'm Group Impact Director at Benefact. And I feel like these webinars are becoming a bit of a regular check-in with old friends, because I know that many of you listening have been on webinars before, have received donations from the Benefact Group, or benefited from our charity resources. So welcome back. It's really wonderful to see you all again. And if you're a new friend to us and you haven't received any support from us, then please keep in touch, because we want to make sure that we get you a donation and support sooner rather than later. Just some very, very quick practicalities. This webinar is being recorded, so if you want to relive it or share it, we'll make it available on the Benefact Group website. And thank you very, very much for all the great questions that you sent in advance. I think getting on for 100. So Nick is going to hopefully answer most, if not all, in his presentation. But feel free to add more questions throughout the session in the Q&A. So the Q&A down in there. As you're doing, please use the chat to say hello, tell us where you're from, that kind of thing. But please use the Q&A for the questions so we can fish them out and hopefully add to what we'll cover at the end of the session. So on screen now, these are the questions that Nick is going to cover in his session. So hopefully a really good, rounded introduction and some in-depth on digital. But before we do that, my job is to make sure you know a little bit about the Benefat Group. So on the next slide, we are a family of financial services businesses in insurance, in broking and investment. And we support charities like you with insurance protection and investment advice in particular. But what is really different about us is that we're owned by a charitable trust. So by doing business with us, you help us generate profits, which go back to charities like you. And I think on the next slide or the one after, actually, so yeah, there's a slide with lots of different brands. So you might encounter lots of different businesses. On this slide, we don't want to stop at giving. So this webinar is a small part of the resources we're building to support you. So take a look at our website here. This is where this webinar and previous webinars are available. So we're looking for more ways to support charities. Now, and finally, the biggest and the most successful way that we give is through our Movement for Good program. And it's been a huge success, I believe, in part, if not in a big part, due to some incredible social media activity. So we thought there was no better way than to tee up Nick for his expert talk by showing you and talking a bit about our experience of social media and how charities have really got involved. So I'm going to hand over to Paul Tyler and then Beck Simpson, from our digital team.
Thanks, Chris. Hello, everybody. So my name's Paul. I manage our digital marketing team here at the Benefat Group. I've been privileged enough to work on every single renewal of the 12 days of giving and Movement for Good giving initiatives since it started back in 2016. Obviously, the map that you can see on the screen at the moment is a spread of all of the charities that have benefited from that programme. But I just wanted to give you a few numbers. So since 2017, we've given over £4 million to 2,100 charities. Over 50,000 charities have been nominated by members of the public. That's over 1.5 nominations from charity supporters. But between 80 and 90% of those nominations came from social media. So it really is a very powerful platform, particularly for this programme, but for fundraising in general. There have been a number of variations to the format of the programme, but the principles are that we've got a nomination period where we invite members of the public to nominate a charity that means the most to them. We then draw winning charities at different points during the year, and that process really gives us, ensures that the spread of the funds is as diverse in terms of geography as it is the beneficiaries of those winning charities. We also have an application phase for larger grants designed to support charities that either have a project or are planning a project that could benefit from additional funding. During that nomination phase, we make a number of different shareable assets available to charities to boost their nominations. And Beck's going to give you a little demonstration of that in a sec. We have a link generator tool that charities are able to create social media posts, email banners, banners to put on their websites, and that allows you to embed a link within that asset. That means that when you share it on social, if one of your supporters clicks on it, it takes them to that nomination form, and the form is already pre-populated with your charity name and number. So really good way of boosting your nominations through the programme. And as a special this year, again, Beck's going to give you a little demo on this. We've given you the ability to create branded Christmas cards to use on social media with that same functionality but built in, so you can add your own logo to those Christmas cards and share them on social, so that your followers can go straight to that nomination form and have slightly less to do when they get there. So I am going to now hand over to Beck, who's going to talk a bit more about some really good examples that we've seen whilst running the programme.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, everyone. I am Beck. I am part of the digital team at Benefact, and part of my role is looking after all the social media accounts. I won't keep you too long, but I just wanted to go over a few case studies. Some really great examples out there, but I've just picked out 3 for us to look at. The first is Ghost Fishing UK. So what I wanted to point out about these guys is, so the images that they use when they're asking their followers to nominate, they always use their own images, so it makes it a little bit more unique to them. And also I wanted to point out the tone of voice that they use. So as you can see in their post, they have put "you always smash this for us." So they're showing that they recognise what their audience does for them and how they always contribute to the nominations. And then I have an example of them engaging with their audience. So they're building on their relationships with people. They always make an effort to respond. So if anyone gets in touch to say that they've nominated them in the Movement for Good draw, they'll always get back, even if it's just a little yay or a thank you for your support. They take that time to build those relationships with their audience. The second is Sussex Green Living, who are a really great example of a charity that shares posts across all their platforms. They're really good at tailoring their content depending on whether they're sharing it on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn and so forth. They again, in the tone of voice, they had a little bit of sense of urgency. They are also really good at knowing their dates. So when we did the eco draw, they started sharing content from the moment it opened up until the last day for nominations. Excuse me. So I would really recommend, if you don't already, keeping a calendar, just a social calendar of key dates that are going to be coming up, that you can start posting content and use that to build conversations with your audiences. In this instance, Sussex Green Living did win, and they left a really lovely thank you message for their audience. And in this message, they also gave a little bit of an insight into what they're going to be spending their money on. This is not necessarily something you have to do just if you win. I have seen examples of charities sharing what they would like to use money for when asking for nominations, and this is really important, just to give your audience a little bit of background into who you are and what you're doing, and let them get on board with your plans. And then I've included Dogs for Rescue in as a case study, because I think they always excel with their content. They have really fun images. Their tone of voice is consistent through everything they share. If you take a look at their account, and they just have fun with it. They really bring to life who they are as a charity through socials. So I really would recommend taking a look at Dogs for Rescue and any of the other 2 that I've mentioned, just to see if there's anything there that you can take inspiration from. When it comes to social media for us at Benefact, there are 3 areas that we consider when posting content to raise brand awareness. So first and foremost is your content and your creatives. So when you're scrolling through a feed, videos and images is what's going to stand out to people. So if you have the ability and there's a reason for an image or a video to be there, I really would recommend incorporating that into what you're doing. If you can make this content personable, that is a bonus. Use your creatives to let your audience get to know you. Let them get to know the people behind the charity. Let them see what you're up to and who you're working with, just to start building those relationships with people online. If you are struggling with thinking of content, there are a range of free tools online that you could use. We use something called Canva, which is really great because it'll give you a bunch of designs and templates that you can use and either alter or just take inspiration from. When we post content, we sort of think of what, why, when, and where. So ask yourself these questions before you're posting, and it will just make it easier, and you'll start to understand sort of what is it that you want to post, what is the reason behind you wanting to share that information, and then work out when the best time to share that is and where. So what platform would that be best suited for? The next is engagement. Why is engagement important? So I think it's really important to interact with your audience. So when they leave a comment or get in touch with you, I think it's key to working on those relationships and sort of showing that you appreciate what they're doing by getting back to them. If you wanted to gain insight into your audience, polls is a really simple way of doing this, and it's also fun for them when they're scrolling through their feed and could be really helpful to you in the long term. I know that engaging with your audience can be really time consuming, so don't feel like you have to respond to absolutely everything, but I do think it's important to have just put a bit of time to one side to interact with your audience. Maybe give yourself a number of responses or reactions you want to do a day or a week. Just have a goal to reach and build on it from there. And then my final point is reach, which for me ties into the first 2 points. So if you have engaging content and you're talking to your audience and you're developing new and working on existing relationships, people will become invested in what you're doing. They will want to help spread awareness, and one way that they can do this is by sharing your content on their social channels. A really good example of this is in our Eco Draw. A charity asked their 300 followers to nominate them and get involved, and just one of those people nominated and shared content on their channels. That person happened to be the director of photography for A Life on Our Planet with David Attenborough. So right from the start, you can see that they have similar interests. What they want aligns, so you know that you've got the right audience. But that person shared their post with their 5,000 followers. So just by working on that relationship, they have reached a wider audience that they might never have been able to before. So it's always really important to engage and build those relationships. As Paul mentioned earlier, new to us this year is the Christmas card tool. I've seen loads online already and they all look great, but just for those who aren't aware, I'm just going to do a really quick demo and show you where you can find this and how that works. So if you head to benefactgroup.com, once that's loaded, in the top banner you'll see Movement for Good. If you just visit us there, and all you need to do is scroll down, you'll see the design your own seasonal message. If you just click find out more and scroll down, you can enter your charity name or number here. Just for this purpose, I'm going to use Ecclesiastical. Then you get taken to the designs, so you can pick any of these designs. I'm just going to choose this reindeer, continue, and then we have some pre-populated messages that you can pick from. So select the one you want, continue again. You will need to upload your logo. Just tick the box there, and then all you need to do is generate card. This will come up for you, and if you decide there's anything in it that you don't like, just scroll back up and you can make your changes. But if you are happy with that, you will see underneath you have a social media link. There is some other options on there as well for you to download it or add it to your email. I'm just going to stick with social. So you copy this. I have already got one open, so I'm just going to show another example. This is one that was already online. So this is what it'll look like when it's on your social channel. And when somebody clicks on that, it will take them directly to the nominating page, and your charity will already pre-populate in the box. So all they'll need to do is fill out their information. As I'm fairly new to my role, and as Chris mentioned earlier, we are working on adding to our fundraising resources. I'm really excited to get involved in that and add some social tips on there for you. And if there's anything that you feel like you need a little bit of extra guidance or support on, please do get in touch with me, let me know, and I'll see if that's something that we can work on. And on that note, I am going to hand over to you, Nick, sorry.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Day, and lovely to see so many of you joining us today. And thanks to Beck for some great examples there of which is a great introduction to my section. Some great examples and some fantastic tips there, which hopefully I can build on. And I think before I get into my particular slide deck, I just wanted to say, just looking at what Beck shared, the one thing that always stands out to me, and one thing to look at with your content and what you're presenting, is, are you using the word you enough? And what I saw in some of those great examples was thank you, you've smashed it. So you is one of the most important words, because it's one of the things that draws us in, because when we see the word you, we kind of go, what, me? So I thought some great examples there. But if you take away nothing else from today, check that you are using you far more than we or I. So some great stuff there from Beck. And just a little bit about me. I've worked in digital marketing since well, the mid-1990s, I've been freelance. I'm working as a freelance digital marketer and a freelance digital marketing trainer since about 2004. And I've been working with DSC for the whole of that time, delivering various elements of digital and direct marketing training for them. So I've got quite a significant slide deck to share with you. I'll kind of be picking out some main points of each slide, really. So do have a look and do have an explore of the slide deck in your own time. There's quite a lot to it. I've put a fantastic bank of links at the end as well. And hopefully, I'm just going to check something. Sorry, bear with me one second. Zoom has this little knack of playing tricks on us. So hopefully I'm showing the right screen. Kathy, I'm sure you'll shout if I go awry. She'll bring me back into line. But yeah, so I've been working in digital marketing, as I say, since the mid-1990s. I was there building some of the first websites, quite different to the ones we see now. And I mean, how exciting digital marketing is, and how exciting social media is in terms of being an additional tool that we can use to connect with our supporters and our donors and so on. So I've broken it down into 4 areas. We're going to start with where to start. And I had a good look through some of the questions that came in, and I've tried to adapt my presentation to include, hopefully, answers to quite a few of the questions that we've had in already, but I'm sure there'll be plenty more coming in as well. So where to start? We're going to have a look at some of the main platforms. I'm hopefully going to give you some tips in this section on how to select the right ones for you and get started with them. So we'll be jumping between the slide deck and the some websites and some web content as well. So Kathy, keep an eye on me. If ever what I'm talking about doesn't match up, let me know. As I say, it does have this little habit of playing tricks on us a little bit. Okay, so this is one I've been using this for years. Sorry, hands up. I love this one because I think we're still stuck in this, to some extent, we're still stuck with, we're trying to lead with the platforms, and we're excited about Facebook and TikTok and Pinterest and Instagram and all these kinds of things. And we end up in this situation where we've got all of the platforms open, and then we're trying to work out, what am I going to do with all of these? And that's the wrong way around. You should be thinking about, well, first and foremost, who is our target audience? Who are we trying to reach? And once you've established that, and once you're clear about that, and there could be lots of different target audiences that you're trying to reach, some young audiences, some older audiences, and so on. And it's such an important point in that we think, well, who are we trying to reach? And we lead with that. And then we can decide which platforms are going to be best to reach the audiences we want to connect with. So just some basic questions to start with. What do they look like? What are their interests? What matters most to them? What do they care about? What communication channels do they like best? What channels do they like today, and what are they going to like tomorrow? That's probably something, again, that we have to try and keep up with. And I thought it was just really good. We hear a lot in social media terms of these 4 categories. There is no single defined definition of what each of these are. There is some variance about audiences. You will often hear people talking about Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, and boomers. So I thought it was worth just clarifying what we actually mean. In case you were wondering, then I'm a Gen X, but only just about. So there you go. So I'm not quite in the boomers. I've just escaped that. I'm in the next one up, but only just. But just have a think about the audiences, because the channels that they use vary. And if we're going to connect with audiences, we've got to match the channels to the different generationals. And it's not the only thing we can consider, but obviously generational social media is quite generational. So just a little bit in terms of the terminology here. So we hear a lot about reach, and this is the total number of people an organization is able to reach across all of its social media networks. Now, reach can be organic, free. When you hear the term organic, it means free, and that can throw people a little bit, or it can be paid. And it probably needs to be a combination of the two. And that's probably already raised some people's hackles up because they're thinking, well, we haven't got budget to pay, but we'll have a look at that in a little bit later on. So reach, you either increase your reach in terms of paying, or you build your reach through encouraging those you are already reaching to bring more people in. And that's how you extend reach. There's 2 basic ways: leverage the people you're already connected with and get them to work harder on your behalf, or pay. And probably, a combination of the 2 can work very well. And then Beck touched on this. This is the holy grail of social media. If you look, I've put at the back a bank of links to really useful bits of information, loads of examples in there, lots of statistics, some really, really great links that I hope you'll take some time to explore after today. But when you look at the engagement figures across the different industries and sectors, admittedly not-for-profit do better than many. And the top performing sectors in terms of engagement are sort of travel and tourism and charities and not-for-profits and so on. So whilst we are at the upper end of engagement is still really is just about across the board in single figures. And even on Instagram, engagement for the sector is around 8 or 9% on average. on other social platforms, less than 1%, less than 1% engagement. This is the big challenge. And the reality is that loads of content is being put out there that is lean back content, passive content, rather than lean in content that goes, oh, there's something to get involved with or engaged with here. And I think, this is one of the key elements, exactly as Beck was saying. Focus on building your engagement, and engagement is actually an indication of quality of what is going on. So try to create content that people are going to love and want to engage with, rather than just browsing through. And I mean, I was working with a wildlife organization recently and looking at some of their social media, and they had this staged event, and every post started with day 1, day 2, day 3. It felt like, it was just like it was a news report of what happened, but it lacked enough engagement because there was nothing at the start to draw you in. It was like, here's what happened on day 1, a bit like Big Brother House, day 3 at the big charity fundraising event. Try to use your copy skills to draw people in. What is going to excite them? What can they get involved with? And the engagement will naturally start to go up. And of course, you can look at, in all of the platforms, what your engagement levels are. So 3 key uses then. And this sort of, is again building on what Bex was saying. Say, show and share. So posting content that audiences can and will want to respond to. Posting content that tells a story. So, fantastic for that. We've got, some really visual platforms like Instagram and TikTok on which we can do that, and sharing online conversations that organizations have with their audience. And think about this balance between saying, showing, and sharing. So it's not one-dimensional, it's all multi-dimensional in terms of how we can use these platforms. So the say, show, and share is a good one to remember. So I've got a little poll coming up for you. We've put a couple of polls in, and I'll just read it to you because I think that it might be a little bit confusing when you see the polls. So I'm going to launch that in just a moment. But Facebook, as we all know, is the world's most popular social media platform. But which of the following is the next most popular platform? So who is at number 2 on the list? And your choices are Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So I'm going to launch the poll now. Give me a chance to have a little drink of water. So which is the next most popular social media platform after Facebook? So that's now launched. Let's see your chance to we got quite a lot coming in. So, I get a little counter show up, which is fantastic. Like with these polls, we're starting to run out of steam a little bit. Last chance to have a look. I think we're coming to the end. Oh no, a few people have just thought, oh, there's a poll. I found the button. It's really interesting. It's really interesting, and what's come in. So in terms of the results, then Twitter comes in at 17%. Instagram comes in at 22%, YouTube 28%, but the winner from your perspective is TikTok on 33% of the world's second most popular social media platform. So I'm going to end that poll. Thank you. We've got another one coming up in just a moment, but we're a little bit torn. You've gone with TikTok as your what you think is the most popular, with YouTube second, Instagram third, and Twitter, unloved Twitter, last on just 17%. Thank you. So good, we'll have another one just a moment, so you can see the results. Hopefully I've shared the results there okay for you. So I'm going to just move that out of the way a bit, so you can see the results there, hopefully. But there's a link to all of these stats at the back. And actually, YouTube is number 2, is number 2 after Facebook. So well done to the 28% of you that picked YouTube. You were absolutely right. And Instagram, so it goes Facebook number 1, YouTube 2, WhatsApp 3, Insta 4, TikTok at 6, and Twitter all way down. Can't even count that far down. So the point I wanted to make is, don't assume popularity. And I mean, this is a really sort of basic way of doing this, but don't assume the popularity of the platform. As I say, at the back of the presentation, there's loads and loads of links to stats and things. Do your research and understand the platform before you pile in and start to sort of set it up and get used to it. The fastest growing is TikTok. It is TikTok. And it's interesting that the top 4 are all owned by Meta. Facebook, WhatsApp, Insta. The top 3 of the top 4 are owned by Meta, and YouTube is of course owned by Google there. So don't assume, and I think that's, coming back to that thing I said at the start with that little cartoon, don't assume the platforms, don't assume you need to be anywhere or don't need to be anywhere. Do your research and have a look at what the different platforms are. But thanks for participating. That we'll do another one in just a moment. So I've done a really quick evaluation of Facebook. Don't panic, I'm not going to be reading everything on the slide. These are kind of more for sort of reference. I've tried to create a combination of usable assets and things to talk about. So hopefully I will just pick out a few of the benefits here. It has got the reach and engagement opportunity. It tends to be the go-to for a lot of organizations. I think it's partly because of its reach, it's partly because of its versatility. That's what makes Facebook quite sitting at the top of the tree, and I think unlikely to be knocked off anytime soon. And a bewildering array of different advertising options within it that I think are quite challenging to get to grips with. I think I would suggest if you're going to go down advertising, you start with Boost Post. We'll have a look at that a little bit later on, but there's about 10 or 11 different ad options. But a couple of things I just wanted to draw your attention to on this is, and one of the things that makes it such a fantastic tool is the donate button. All of this functionality sits within the Facebook family, and also the opportunity, the fundraising toolkit, which is this tab here. So this is not about raising vast sums of money, and you can see some of these have got a little way to go to engage their audiences. But it's about providing a toolkit to your supporters. This is about saying, here's a toolkit. You can go off and raise money for us. And it's about making these people, Caroline and Monica and Trina and Nikki, this is about making these people feel like they're real stakeholders in the organization, and they've got a toolkit to say, make a donation, I don't want presents, and so on. And so that's really, if you're a registered charity, you've got the correct setup on Facebook, you can add Fundraisers Toolkit. There's the donate button as well there now. You can set predefines in all of this. So, that's one of the real strengths of Facebook, is the toolkit that's available there, particularly for our sector. So really, really good for that. But organic reach is low and declining. The posts are affected by the algorithm, like everything, but more on that a little bit later. Some of you asked questions on algorithms, and the Gen Z and millennials prefer somewhere else. So TikTok and Instagram typically. So again, it's a good base level, but if you're interested in younger audiences, you're not going to reach them particularly well through Facebook. Instagram is the leading platform for Gen Z and millennials. So it's absolutely the leading platform. TikTok is fast catching up, but I think the difficulty with TikTok is the monetization of that. And some charities are starting to get some success with TikTok, but it's in its early days. And I think it's easier to see how to monetize for you Instagram and Facebook than it is TikTok's. It's about visual content. If you don't have great visual content, this is not the platform for you to be on just yet. Lots of opportunities for hashtag stuffing. I'll cover that in just a moment in a little bit more detail. It is a visual platform. One of the real challenges is building click-throughs to other opportunities, to other things you might want to share. It's a bit like its own ecosystem, and once you're in it, they don't want people clicking off into other areas. So it doesn't have the same click-through capability as something like Facebook has, and other platforms in fact have. So it can be quite challenging, but I just wanted to share with you, and I'm just going to post this link into the chat, actually, because I forgot to put it in my links at the start. So I'm just going to post this into the chat. So I'll just do this to everyone, because this is a really, really useful link here, is getting your Insta and Facebook linked up together. And this is a great link on how to get Instagram working with a donate button as well. So we've just seen it on Facebook, but we can do it on Insta as well. And there's some really good instructions here on how to do this, to get that donate button added to your Instagram profile. I was having a look at some of the major charities to see whether they'd kind of got this fully integrated yet, and not really. So again, get ahead of the game on this and get that joined up and start, and again, that enables a donation platform for younger audiences that might not be on Facebook. So a really useful set of instructions there to get started with that. Twitter is essentially a news platform, and it's always been news, and it's always been a short messaging system. They have increased the number of character limits, but it's still a short messaging system. So it is short, sharp, time-sensitive messaging that kind of has a lifespan of like a nanosecond, and it's either instant reaction or not. And it is very sort of instant and in the moment. So just, but if you're going to be on Twitter, you've got to adopt a newsy type of thing and a headliney type of approach to things. It's got a number of challenges. I think they're all pretty well publicized. I don't know what the future of Twitter is. And I think my guidance would be, if you're already on it, maintain a working brief. If you are not on Twitter yet, I probably wouldn't open up that channel at this point in time, because I think the future looks quite uncertain for it. You know, don't lose sight of the fact of, you know, Facebook and Instagram make a profit. Twitter has struggled for years to make a profit. It hasn't made a profit since 2019. Its income is declining because a lot of major advertisers are not happy with the new ownership and direction. Big advertisers are worried about spam accounts and bots and trolling and all of those unpleasant aspects that Twitter kind of has a reputation for, which is great if you're, you know, sort of a leading politician and you like stirring things up, but perhaps not so great for people, who've got other sort of interests. So it's become very politicized, and and I think that, you know, if you've got something to add to the political debate on a subject, well, you know, great. Could be the platform for you. And one of the things that's a lot of questions came in about how do we engage employees? How do we engage other businesses? Well, LinkedIn, I did just want to include LinkedIn because this is the sort of the business to business, organization to organization platform. And I think it is a great platform. Since Microsoft took it over, they've really kind of transformed this. It's a profitable, functioning platform that does well as part of the Microsoft family. And, you know, there's a lot of opportunity there if you're looking at building from corporates and significant organizations. I think it's a good one to be on. And like Facebook, you can have your own business page here or organization page on LinkedIn as well. But, you know, the key thing, key use of LinkedIn is employment, job seeking. It's like, how do you know when someone's looking for a job? Oh, they've updated their LinkedIn profile. So, you know, again, it's got some interesting points to it. I just wanted to touch a little bit on hashtags. The only platform where you should be hashtag stuffing is Instagram, and it works incredibly well there. And it's kind of what it's kind of what makes it. And if we look on these tags and we just pick up this, I can sort of open up. Whoops. Sorry, that wasn't what I wanted to show you, but just be aware of that, that you can hashtag stuff on Instagram, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that if you overstuff on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, it decreases engagement. The only place where you can have a lot of hashtag stuffing and where it's encouraged is on Instagram. So just be mindful of that. And hashtags should have a natural complementarity to what you're covering in your post. So don't hashtag stuff just for the sake of it, only connect in with things where you've got something to add to the conversation. So be aware of the algorithms. The algorithms will affect organic, free social posts. And this just gives you an overview of what each of those platforms is looking for. So Facebook will prioritize interactions to generate friendly conversations. It is the friends and family platform. Twitter is about timing and relevancy, and by relevancy and timing we mean newsworthy a lot of the time, and so that's critical. If you're putting out newsworthy content, then that's, the algorithm's likely to like that. LinkedIn is about engagement and showcasing quality, and Instagram is about quality and relevancy to display the best content to the most people. So it's just a snapshot of how those algorithms work. And I know there was a question on that. So hopefully that just gives you a bit more guidance on that. I'm going to skip over this. I'm conscious of my time frame, so I'm going to skip over that and just say that's a summary of 5 key categories of usage of the benefits of social media, because I want to get on to what to post on social media. And I think coming back to what I said at the start, so much content is passive content on social media, and what we want is engagement. We want lean in content, not lean back content. And just to reiterate what I was saying earlier, and the point that Beck made in her presentation, the use of the word "you" is one of the key ingredients of engagement. We need you to do this. You can do that. You can make a difference here. Look what you've achieved. Thank you. So, there's look at your copy, look at your content creation, and think, is this drawing the audience in? Am I addressing the audience needs before my needs, or possibly even the beneficiary needs? Am I focusing on the audience that I've got in front of me and what matters to them? So, this, again, if you take away just a limited number of things from today, this to me is one of the most important aspects of the content. And again, it leads on from what Beck was saying. It's starting to think about that balance of content. And what I love about this is the reality is that we all operate on a sliding scale of emotional and rational connection, and it varies. Various times of the day we're more rational, various times of the day we're more emotional. We've all got a sliding scale. We might have a natural inclination to one or other, but we all operate on a sliding scale. And the reality is, in our sector, is that you might hook an audience in with emotional an emotional engagement, an emotional attraction to you, but at some point the rational is going to take over. How are they spending my money? What are they achieving as a consequence of all of this? And that's why I love this balance of content around emotional versus rational, because at some point one or other will take over. And if we've got you through an emotional connection, at some point we might start to question how the money's being spent and what are you actually achieving with this and what does success look like, and so on. And then we've got how to move from awareness through to purchase. This was another thing that came up in the questions, is how do I move people through from sort of entertaining them to getting them to give me some money, basically, which is, I guess, why a lot of you are here. And it's about this balance of content. This is not definitive, but we need a balance of content that's going to inspire, entertain, educate, and convince. And you can go look at all of the content you're creating on social and on other platforms and start categorizing it. And you're probably going to start to find an imbalance in what you're creating. There's like, it's all entertainment, or it's all inspiring, or it's all educating. What I see with wildlife charities a lot and conservation charities is loads of education stuff, but and some inspire with celebrity endorsement, but often not enough entertainment, for example. Look at the balance. And this is how you will, if you've got a good balance of inspire, entertain, educate, then by the time it comes to convincing to get me to part with my money, then you've got that firm foundation. I feel like I'm a stakeholder. I feel like I want to be close to this organization and part of this organization. So here's another poll for you. No right or wrong answer, no right or wrong answer, but here's another poll for you. What type of content do you enjoy? Here you go. So I've launched the poll. Yeah, it's obviously working. I can see responses coming in, and this is looking very interesting. This is looking very interesting. Okay, fantastic. Entertainment and value is winning. Yeah. Okay. By a long way. In second place, we've got personal value and then knowledge value. I can see how selfless all of you people are working in the charity sector. The monetary value has scored quite low. So, Okay, so nice, a nice blend of results there, and I'm just going to share those results. So hopefully you can see those now. I'm sharing the results. So so what we've got is a definite win for entertainment value. And you just think about that content matrix that we were just looking at. Look how, look at how that sort of naturally fits into some of that content. It's about adding value to people. And entertainment is often what we're looking for: personal value, knowledge value. So again, hopefully that helps to get you thinking, are we creating enough stuff of personal value? Top tips for me, like British Heart Foundation, 3 key signs that someone's having a stroke, that type of thing. These sorts of things are really, really important things that we can give back and add value to people. And the entertainment value, well, if you want entertainment, then are you providing enough entertainment for your followers? And again, this is about the balance of the balance of that. So so hopefully you can see that. Sorry, my computer's playing a few tricks on me. Hopefully you can see these stats there. I'll leave those there just a second longer. So the sharing I will leave up so you can see. So no right or wrong answer, but just think about what you value, and are you providing enough of that value to your audiences? So I'm going to stop sharing that, but thank you for your participation. I'll leave you to look at these in your own time, but here is a really, really useful guide of benefits and limitations of different content types. I hope this will be a go-to or return to piece of information, because I've tried to categorize all of the different main content types and give you a sort of a benefits and limitations to each. But what about quizzes? I mean, I saw a really fantastic quiz on a dementia website, for example, a dementia charity website, where they said, take a test. How much do you know about dementia and how likely you are to get it? And just a fantastic. Sorry, I'm getting this. The poll just keeps popping up. Sorry, getting some, and just really interactive elements. What can you do? Quizzes, can be great ways to educate and inform your audiences. They can be really valuable rather than just presenting a sort of data set. Maybe a quiz, it could be the right way, particularly with younger audiences or any kind of audience. So, and where you've got statistics, turn them into infographics. More on that in just a second. So there's a whole sort of raft of different things that you can look at there, and a good reference document for you there, hopefully. So this is the 4-1-1 rule, and 4 pieces of new content, 1 repost, 1 self-serving post. Someone was asking about the balance, and this is the balance. It's the 4-1-1 rule. And the new content, this is about content that is adding value or interest or joining up with other kind of players in your sector, whatever it happens to be. The reposts is obviously, resharing stuff from other relevant platforms. And look how 1 self-serving post, somebody was asking about how do I get the balance between asking for money and posting sort of useful content. 4-1-1 rule is works very well. So think about using the 4 to build the rapport, the generosity, the goodwill towards you. Use repost to build the warmth and generosity and link up with other interested parties in your area. And just 1 self-serving post that's like, give us a donation or visit our website, join our e-newsletter, whatever it happens to be. So don't keep it all about you. Get the balance there. Hopefully that helps you. If you're going down the influencer route, remember the 3 R's. Are they relevant to the audiences you're trying to connect with? What is their reach? How big is their following? And in terms of resonance, what's the potential level of engagement they could have with your audience? So be careful with social media influences. Always assume, always think about what could possibly go wrong. It requires quite careful risk management, because they're human beings and they don't always necessarily, well, we all fall over as human beings, don't we? And we all make mistakes. It's just that these people make them very publicly, and that can then potentially impact on your brand. So 6 attributes of great content. This is, again, is a good one just to remember. Does it look attractive? Is it easy to discover? Can I consume it? Can I get involved in it? Is there some action there? Can I share it? Will I want to share it? And do I understand it, or is it too complicated? Social media is good for presenting things in simple, focused ways. And if you overcomplicate it, it probably won't work. So just beware of that. I just wanted to share some great tools with you. Canva, Remove, and Picture Chart. Beck mentioned Canva. Remember, you can get a free, in the charity sector, you can get a free pro account with Canva, and loads of preset Instagram squares, Instagram stories, Facebook covers, some fantastic stuff here, resources you can use. And say, as a charity, you can get, there's a charity, yeah, there we go, not-for-profits. Canva Pro is free for all registered non-profits, applies today. Honestly, if you haven't used it, you can start creating some fantastic sort of posts that have got, nice sort of graphics and things and overlays and things like this you can do using Canva. It doesn't require the skill it used to when I first started out and had to learn Photoshop, which I still don't really understand particularly well. Another great one is this one, and I love this because how difficult, sometimes we want to cut things out and overlay them, and you can clean up sort of and remove backgrounds, and then we could take that picture and then overlay her onto another setting and so on. This is so useful and completely free, and then you just upload and download. It works incredibly well. I love it, absolutely love this one. And if you've got infographics, yeah, you can do them in Canva, but you might want to explore Picture Chart as well. A lot of these have got instant link up with Google, so if you're signed into Google, you can kind of just cut straight in. I just wanted to, whilst I've got open, I just wanted to, I'm sure a lot of you are going to be asking about TikTok. This is Crisis. Look at, and I've just gone to their TikTok page, and there's some early signs that this could be quite good for the sector, but a big organization like Crisis, quite modest start, which I think is perfect. That is the way to start, and they're kind of building it up and getting to grips with it. And it is an interesting platform. It is a video platform, and video content is great, and I think Crisis are using it really well. But it's quite small in the scheme of things, just so I think it's a case of watch this space a little bit on TikTok. So do you need to pay? These are questions we get asked a lot. I think the reality is, yes, you do, potentially, because organic reach is in decline. And I wanted to give you some sort of key considerations to help you decide when to pay and how to budget. Now, all of the platforms, all of the main platforms, they do all operate slightly different models. Facebook has got a pay for exposure. So you get your exposure and you the length of time, your reach and the time period you want to work with. And you'll see on all of your posts on social media, most of them will have a little post boost button. Explore it. You're not committing to anything by doing that. You might be afraid of it and go, oh, if I click on that, I'm spending loads of money. I do post boosts a lot with some of my clients, and quite often we're spending £20, £30, £25, quite small sums of money. The fantastic thing is that if you want to extend your reach, you're probably going to have to pay. And as I said at the start, you can extend your reach by paying or leveraging the supporters you've already got to bring more followers in. And that's really the only way that we can do it, or use other platforms to drive people to your social presence, which is absolutely fine, and a great way to do it as well. But Facebook, it's part of Meta, along with Instagram, along with WhatsApp. Successful organization, I think it'd be fair to say, and very quickly got to grips with monetization of a valuable platform. And I suppose the question is, would you phone up the local newspaper and say, could you give me a full page advert for free? You wouldn't phone up ITV or Classic FM and say, can I have a radio ad or a TV ad and not pay you for the space? So, I think we need to sort of move out of this mindset of, everything we do, we've got to try and do it with organic, because you probably will be missing opportunities. And it's quite easy to boost a post. On a post, just do a little sample. Click the boost post. You're not committing to anything. You can start to set the parameters. If you haven't registered a credit card with it anyway, they can't take it any further to letting it release to the world as such. But you just explore, get comfortable, understand it. Insta operates a similar kind of model to Facebook, and if you are using ads on Facebook, you can automatically extend across to Instagram. So that's a really attractive part of that. Twitter's really one to be careful of. Twitter operates a model more like Google, which is pay-per-click, which is a lot tougher to manage and control. And LinkedIn, again, is by reach and exposure. So even though you don't assume, I think the incorrect assumption is that because you've posted something, your fans and followers are going to see it. The algorithm may dictate otherwise. So don't make that assumption that because you've got a following and you've got followers that they're going to see your content. The need to build that is there. So I've created some, what I think are some good reasons to pay, and here they are. Get your posts seen by more people. Seriously, the algorithms will mean that your reach through organic is going to reduce. I think we need to just get comfortable with the idea that we need to pay. But again, you haven't got to be allocating loads and loads and loads of money to this. A lot of the time it is quite affordable, and try it. Start small. Never go with like, oh, let's do a full sort of carousel on Facebook. Don't go down that route. Start small, build your confidence. You will not master the advertising options on Facebook in 5 minutes. I've been working with it for years, and I still struggle with it at times because it's quite complex. The dashboard is quite complex to get to grips with. But boost to post, lovely and affordable, and a great way in. Get more people talking about your brand. I mean, this is what we want, isn't it? And we want engagement. And one of the ways we can drive up engagement is through paying. And that's a key part of it. get in front of key individuals and decision makers. So again, you know, particularly on things like if you're trying to develop corporates, for example, then and you're using LinkedIn, for example, then you can start to hone in on sort of individuals that you want to connect with and get in front of those people. So I think that can be quite important on LinkedIn if you're looking to build that corporate support. Building brand awareness. If you're the reality is that the smaller charities have to try harder than the bigger charities. It's kind of, the way it is, but there's a lot of small charities that punch well above their weight on social media, and, paying can sort of supplement and support that. A small budget can make it, is honestly explore it. Start with Boost Post on Facebook, and start with that. And just explore it. You don't have to agree to anything just by exploring and looking and searching and so on. And it is all part of the mix. I mean, that is the reality that, we're going to have to accept, that these are platforms that can potentially enable us to reach a vast array of different target audiences. And we kind of have to get a bit more comfortable with that, and a good mix of paid organic, can work really well. One of the things I just want to say on Boost Post is Boost Post works by, you've got the content out there, it's already got some traction, it's already got some engagement. Do not try and flog a dead horse. If you have posted something and none of your supporters are engaging with it or love it or doing much with it, it's unlikely that a post boost will resurrect it. Focus your post boosts on things that have already got a bit of engagement, maybe higher than your average engagement, or a particularly important message that you want to convey, and focus it on that. Don't use it to try and resurrect something that clearly, is kind of wrong time, wrong place at the moment. You'll be wasting money. Focus on Boost Post with things that have already got some traction and some engagement, and then you'll be okay. So I wanted to just talk, and I've got about 5 more minutes, and then we'll get to questions. But what tone of voice should you use? And I think this is again, Beck was talking about this in what she talked about in her section. And for me, consistent and confident is where we need to get to. Never feel like, oh, I'm sorry to be asking for money. Be assertive, be confident. And if you've got a good balance of content, you should never feel embarrassed about asking for money. If all you ever do is ask for money, then yeah, be embarrassed because you're not adding value and you've not got a range of content, and you haven't built the relationship with people. So when if you don't feel strong in your relationships with your supporters, look at your content, build that first, and then you'll feel like, oh, I feel quite comfortable with asking them to pay to come to this event or make a donation for this project and so on. So I'm going to look at some of the key elements of tone of voice. This is a significant area, and there's kind of no right or wrong answer. But as general pointers, assertiveness, confidence, coherence, consistency, they're all kind of key things. And, the corporates talk about it like brand tone of voice, brand tone of voice. You might talk, you're not talking those terms, but, the reality is that, brand is what makes the world go round now, it seems. So it does come down to your organization's identity. Are you clear about your identity? Are you clear and confident about the difference you make to the world, the positive difference you make to the world? And then if you're confident and comfortable with why you exist and why you're trying to achieve, then you can start to build your, your tone of voice on from that identity. But there is some variance. Whilst we need a kind of a collective tone of voice, each social media platform is unique, and users will have different expectations. We'll explore a little bit of that in just a moment. So whilst you need a sort of an umbrella brand tone of voice of confidence, assertiveness, or maybe some of the works, the charities I've worked with, are really into kind of activism and disruption, and some of those really assertive charities that are trying to change people's mindsets. They're confrontational, they're quite aggressive, maybe. I'm sure Amnesty International, Peter, they don't mince their words, and that's their tone of voice, but they're confident and assertive whilst also trying to disrupt and reshape public and political opinion. And that's what they do. So you think about, I think too many charities are too lack warmth in the way they present content, not so much on social media. But one of the things to have a look at after today is look at your tone of voice on social media and then compare it to the tone of voice on your website. And what we often find in the sector is, fantastic tone of voice on social. We come to the website and it's clinical, it's sterile, it lacks no warmth. It's kind of like, it's all features, all about features and who we are and what we do. And the focus has got to be on how we make a difference, what we deliver, why the world is a better place because of our existence. And that's, look at, if you've got a disconnect between the tone of voice on social and the tone of voice on your website, try to get a better alignment. And it's probably the copywriting on your website that needs to be improved for more warmth, more humanity, and more fun, I guess, more entertainment. Websites often tend to be a little bit like, like a rather dull brochure sometimes. And but because we're connecting social and website together and hopefully getting them working and interacting together, we do need to get a better balance of tone of voice. So we'll just have a look. Is your opportunity to show off aspects of your personality and showcase what you've achieved. That's one of the key things that social media can do, is showcase what you are achieving. It is first and foremost a public relations tool and a donation or fundraising, income generation tool second. If you think first public relations, second fundraising, you're probably got better expectations. So just looking about how we can vary tone of voice a little bit across the platforms. Facebook, playful, informal, engaging, personable, friendly, humorous. Again, and this is why I'm kind of making the point about the website. Facebook is likely to be your go-to platform, where you might well be playful and engaging and personable. And, does it jar when I then click through to your website to make a donation or find out more about a project? So, yeah, there's some, that's good tips for Facebook tone of voice. Insta, if you haven't got great pictures and great aesthetics, you won't succeed on Insta. You need good quality pictures, good quality videos, and be light-hearted and inviting. And it's the captions, the captions is key on Instagram there, and hashtags, of course, as well. But I'm often quite surprised how people are not using the full range. I mean, just sort of coming back to, so this is Crisis on Insta, post reels tags, they're not using TV, post reels tags. So, there is opportunity to, they've all got a great toolkit to explore. Twitter interaction, bold. human, newsworthy, but be careful. Political, don't add fuel to the fire. Or maybe you want to. If you're Amnesty International, maybe that's exactly what you want to do. LinkedIn, professional, formal, as you would expect. So I just wanted to finish up, and then we'll get into some questions. These are my 11 steps to success with social media. I just wanted to finish up with this. Be current. Only, it's better to do a few things well than too much not very well. If you're managing the time and resource to focus in on if your most important platforms and you're focusing on content, quality over quantity will drive up your engagement. As I said, earlier on, there's so much unloved on social that gets no engagement. Do you want to just add to that? It's a fair question. Be consistent. So there's consistency in and there are scheduling tools. There's links to Hootsuite. There's links to Sprout Social. There are scheduling tools you can help to, to arrive at different times of day. There's loads of different stuff on timing. I've got links to that at the back as well. But being consistent and having a consistency in terms of timing can be important. So don't overstretch yourself with a schedule that you can't keep up with. Distinctive, consistent personality. We've kind of touched on that with tone of voice a bit. Build your current supporter base. Thank them, prod them. Just think, how many people are real go-getters, self-motivated activists? They are in the minority, aren't they? I mean, they make a lot of noise and they get a lot of attention, but they are in the minority. Most people are quite passive in their lives and existence, and they won't do anything unless you kind of just cajole them a little bit and encourage them and thank them. And that's how to build the engagement and the followers on social, is by those little kind of calls to action and little prompts and nudges and thank you. As Beck was saying, think about engaging and with the people who are engaging with you. There's no silver bullet. It does require time and effort to create great content. If time and effort or time and money you're short of, try and focus on doing a few things well and trying to do too much. Be proactive to both good and bad comments. If someone's being really obnoxious and abusive, never fight fire with fire. Always remain professional and focused on the facts. Social media is a public domain, and people are watching what's going on and how you handle things. When people are being rude, they're often emotionally charged. The worst response is to come back with an emotionally charged response. So just think about managing that and give your people guidelines on manners and etiquette. You don't just assume that your team, well, you like social media, you can do all of that. Give them parameters and guidelines. When we're posting on behalf of an organization, it's not ourselves, and we sometimes get confused between the two. Agree guidelines between you as to how you're going to deal with the not so nice aspects as well as the nice aspects. Manage your expectations, encourage sharing, as I've already said, encourage dialogue, and get them all joined up together. You can post a TikTok on Twitter, you can link between the platforms, you can host on YouTube and show on Facebook and so on. So there's lots of interaction that that you can do. So I think we're going to move to Q&A. So I'm going to come off the screen share and have a look at I think Kathy's going to host some of the questions for us. Sorry, I know I've gone over by about 5 minutes, but
I'm going to ping them over to you a little over, Nick, but you fished so much in and there's so many comments about thanks. There's loads of little things for people to go on.
Thank you.
Paul and I think Beck also were flashing away in the background, answering a lot of the questions live and so on. But I will be honest with you, we had at the top of this about 370 people, and I've got about 100 questions. I'm going to try and get three in if you can, Nick. Yeah, so Charlotte in Wiltshire, thanks, was asking about the idea of preventing inappropriate use, making sure that there aren't negative comments. What kinds of control can you have over this? There was a question there about transparency as well around messaging and thing, and I think these two things may well tie in. If you can comment on both together, thanks.
Yeah, I think that the difficulty is that these are public platforms, and whilst there is some moderation on some of the platforms and things that you can do, as I just want to acknowledge, I just flashed up, I was talking about Instagram TV, and yeah, I was having a bit of a mind lapse on that one, and yeah, I think it's been amalgamated into other aspects of that platform. So thanks for the person that picked up on that, and that was my mistake on that one. And yeah, I think they're going to happen. I think you need to decide as organizations how you're going to deal with these. And one of the things that you can do is where someone's getting really sort of abusive and they're in a customer type relationship with you, be that beneficiary or supporter or whatever it happens to be, encourage them to take it offline. And I think, can we sort of diffuse the situation? You've got to act to diffuse the situation. I don't think it's really one of the options that people choose, and I'm not sure it's the right option, and maybe Beck and Paul have a view on this as to whether you can ignore things. If you ignore things, they tend to snowball, and my view is to nip it in the bud, respond with something that's factually correct about what you do, what you deliver, or how you've tried to resolve the dispute with this person, and put a response there in a public capacity so everyone can see that you're the adult in the room and they're behaving irresponsibly and unpleasantly. And I think provided you do that, most people will look and go, oh, that was good that they kind of set the record straight. And if they want to keep just churning it over, you've done what you reasonably could to suit that. But I think, some charities do want to shake up political opinion. They want to shake up, what we think about certain things, and that's what they do. If that's your remit, then you're going to get a lot more abuse and back. And again, you need to think more carefully. If you're going to be controversial in terms of what you're posting, pre-think how you're going to handle potential responses and the risk that comes with it, and learn from Amnesty International, Peter, these really sort of hard-hitting organizations. Look at what they do and how they handle it if you're going to go down a controversial route, but always focus on the facts and the figures and objectivity, not emotion and subjectivity. So it's a very long answer to that question.
Sorry, if you can, a little bit briefer on this one, although it's quite a big question, to be fair. Felice, thanks very much. They have about 5,000 volunteers, so this is almost at the other end of the scale. Their volunteers create and post a lot of material for them, and they're not all designers. How do they make sure that they're not hurting brand name or and they are following rules? That kind of a practical organizational thing.
Set some guidelines. Agree. For when you're representing the organization, here's 5 things that you need to consider, and here's a toolkit to help you. Don't let people make up their own minds about what is and isn't appropriate. Don't make it over arduous. 6 points to remember when you're posting on social media for our organization: number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And it is just a reminder, particularly young people are not good at blurring. They get more and more blurred. In fact, we all do, between acting as a private individual and talking on your behalf. And I know how we're flipping between the two. So give them 6 or 7 clear rules to follow. and don't expect them to just make their own judgment without your guidance. And have a system of a feedback loop system whereby people can say, I'm not sure, who can I go to for further guidance on this? If anyone's not sure, particularly if someone's being rude, what they should do, give them, have a hierarchy of people that can help.
Great, thank you very much. A couple of these might be quick ones, and Paul, Beck, you might have a view as well. How many posts a day? GIFs, are they overused? Quick couple of thoughts from each of you on that.
I think I responded to a couple of people asking that question. I guess there's no definite answer to that. I would say it's much more easy to do too much than to do too little. And if you've got something to say that's going to engage your audience every day, then do it. But don't do it for the sake of doing it.
Don't just turn up there. Okay, great. Thanks very much. I don't think there's even one that I can clarify that I can get to quickly and make sure that we finish in time. There are a lot of practical questions. I'll make sure that all the speakers see all the questions, and if there's quick ones we can fire back to you and those kinds of things. Equally, once you've had a look at the questions, go look at the video again. There might be bits of information that you go, oh, if I go back to that segment and so on, you'll get that covered. I just wanted to say we've got people from Liverpool, Norfolk, Yorkshire, Ireland, Kenya, Fife, Folkestone, Gloucester. I mean, the list is endless. Serving people in Kenya, Bangladesh, Malawi, all over the world. So absolutely brilliant. It often looks like time out when we take a webinar, but look at the work that we're doing literally all across the world. I'm going to let Chris say the last goodbyes and thank you from DSC. Thanks on our behalf, and we'll see you all at the next one. Practicals and goodbyes. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, well, I'll just say two things very, very quickly. Well, wow, clearly this is a topic which we're all very interested in, and there's an awful lot to say about. So I'm sure we'll be back to this topic. So thank you in particular, Nick. Thank you to Paul, Beck, Kathy, and everyone at DSC for helping make this happen. And then secondly, please do keep in touch. We want to know you. We want to find a way to support you. So get onto benefactgroup.com. As I say, lots of fundraising resources on there, a chance to win £1,000 in our latest draw. So it's been wonderful to have you here today, and it'd be great to get to know you more in the future. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Group wave. Bye.